On today's episode of the Apex, the podcast, the boys talk to Aidan the Destroyer from Team Glytch Energy. They've been on a little hot start here out the gate. I believe they're placed 9th right now. They're doing pretty well. We talked to Aidan about his introduction into Apex, which is a little odd considering he came from arenas, but it is a great story nonetheless. And we talked to him about the future of the team and how they've gotten off to such a good start. Then the boys go over days 3 and 4 of ALGS action. And on the other side of the interview, we have some great news for Enoch and round out the show with the heart-to-heart. So without further ado, ladies and gents, let's get into the show. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Apex, the podcast. The boys are here. We are ready to go. We have 2 full days of ALGS action to go through with all of you guys. Lots of storylines, lots of craziness that went down in the league. But before we do all that, let's talk to the boys and see how we are doing. We have some major news breaking for you after the interview. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait for everybody to hear what's been going down for you. But besides all that, we want to save that for after the interview. How have you been doing besides all that?
I've been doing well. I've been dabbling in the kick area. That's been something I ripped almost 3-hour stream on that today. I think I have like 115 followers on there at this point. So I'm definitely, all I have to do is get finish up my 5 hours before I can get a nice little sub button on there. And it was cool. It was definitely a in some ways it felt like a throwback to being at a much lower view count than normal. But it was fun. I enjoyed it. The interaction was cool. It's definitely, I think, could be a potential option, and definitely something I'll probably start doing at least for a couple hours a day, just to see things how things are. Because I do think that it presents itself as a unique opportunity, as we have what could very well be a genuine competitor with Twitch. Because from what I've seen, they have no plans of getting rid of the 95.5 sub cut, which is just absurd. And Twitch has doubled down on the fact that they are very much planning on staying on their 50-50. And so I definitely think that it is an opportunity, because if I can get there early and establish my presence early on and solidify myself as top 5, top 10 Apex Legends kick streamer, that then as the platform will organically grow and as more and more people swap over, if I've already established myself as one of the biggest on the platform, I should organically grow right along with them. And I'm confident in my content. I'm confident that I can take it from Twitch and take it to Kick and just pick up right where I left off. And it'll be cool. I'm definitely don't plan on switching from Twitch completely by any stretch of the imagination. I'll definitely at least be putting in 5 to 6 hours there every day, and then probably a few hours on Kick. But yeah, just diversifying, taking advantage of an opportunity, and we'll see where things go.
Sweet. That's awesome. That's great to hear. Go follow him on Kick. Go follow Enoch on Kick.
Go follow him on Kick.
Enoch on Kick.
Go follow him on Kick. Finn, how have you been doing?
Good. I'm back on my gym arc. I tweeted this out. I feel like I should have tweeted out an anime GIF, even though I don't watch anime, but it felt like one of those tweets where you kind of have to pump yourself up, and I don't know, done some. I really should have just typed in on Twitter the GIF section, just type in anime and then click the first one, whatever it would have been. But I'm back on my gym arc. I am doing my low cal, high protein diet and working out. And so been doing that, been trying to get in a groove with my young pup dog on it's sleeping, and then on the timing of it eating and going out. It's just been a nightmare, dude. I will say this. I have cleaned up poop like 5 times today. So it's not going great if you want the honest truth, but that's how my week's been. And I am kicking, and yeah, I'm enjoying where I'm at right now. Even though, we'll get into my heart to heart later, but I'm kicking and enjoying life. What about you, Wyatt? How was your week?
It was good. Okay, so I've been on a heavy Rocket League grind the last probably 2-3 weeks. I've just been going super super hard. I'm pretty sure I described it on like a show, either a show ago or 2 shows ago. But I have a friend who was on Banner with me for a long time, but then he moved, so he hasn't been on the show anymore. But me and him have been on a Rocket League team together for years, literally for years. And we started off low rank together, and we've worked our way up to like high diamond. And so our team name is Win City Bitch, and that's been our team ever since we started. And we have to include win in there. This is our strat. We go down 3 goals within the first minute, and then we work our way back and somehow win the game. That's how we've always played every game. But he's been super, super busy because he is a grad student in psychology and he busts his ass. And so he doesn't have a whole lot of free time. So in my free time, I want to make sure when I come to the plate, when he has time, I want to come to the plate correct. I want to be there. I want to be strong. Okay. So I've been playing my ass off. I've been playing against like some champion players, and they've been absolutely dummying me. But what I can bring to the table, like I can't do the aerial shit that they're doing, right? But you get that ball in the corner, I'm going to be an absolute pest. I'm going to pest the shit out of you. You not even raid could kill me. I'm going to be in the corner. I'm going to be stopping your shots. I'm going to be blocking shots. I'm going to be in your face all game long, and I'm just going to be annoying. Okay, and I'm still yes. I'm literally Pat Bev. I'm a short pest, and I'm gonna be playing defense on you all game long, and that's exactly what I've been working on. And I'm still trying to get my aerials under control. Right, I'm still trying to get them under control. They're okay at best. They're not great, but I've been working real hard on that. But yeah, so I've been working really hard on Rocket League. That is also to say, I got my 7-year-old daughter came in and she saw me playing, and I was making a new car, and she was like, "Let me make a car." So I allowed her to make a car, and then she wanted to play because I was editing the interview with Aidan, and what I usually do is I'll just the last 2 weeks I've been going into Rocket League training, and I just train while I'm editing the pod or editing like the interview. And so I gave the controller to her, and she was surprisingly good. And I was like watching her while I'm editing this pod, and I was like, holy shit, like she's actually playing well. So then I had ball cam turned off because I think there's a big adjustment when you first start playing with like ball cam off versus it on. I turned it on.
All the people that don't play Rocket League right now are
they're so confused. Yeah. There was no change in her play whatsoever. She totally understood ball cam as a 7-year-old. She was like naturally good. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna throw on the training. I threw on like the striker training beginner. She got 60%. Then I threw on the goalie beginner. She got 90%. I was like, holy shit, like she was playing decent. So I might have like a teammate I can play with. I'm gonna make a new account and just play like low level ranked with her and just kind of let her take control. And I'm just gonna be like all-time goalie and just kind of watch her. Like I'm gonna teach her the same strat I have. I want her to be an absolute pest in the corners. I want her to be in their face just all game long, being a nightmare to deal with. So that's been my week, is just heavy Rocket League. And playing with the little one. Also, a lot of Fall Guys because she loves Fall Guys, but we haven't gotten a crown as a team yet. So we're working on that. We're not good at they do this hexagon one, but they've changed it to where there's the hexagon that spins in the circle. I don't know if you guys have played Fall Guys.
Yeah, I haven't played it recently. I did whenever it was the craze. Like, you remember the craze where it was like everybody and their mom was playing
Yeah. So the hexagon ones are difficult, but we haven't gotten there quite yet, but we're gonna get there. But that's been my week, just gaming, going super hard.
Wyatt, you haven't asked me to play Rocket League.
Are you a Rocket League grinder?
Yeah, I play.
Are you trying to get down?
I'm a champ.
You're a champ?
Yeah.
Dude, I don't want to let you down then.
No. I haven't played in a while, but that was old champ. I will see.
I'm down, dude. I'm down to grind.
Well,
I have a sick looking car too.
Maybe we do a little do a little Rocket League this weekend. So
maybe we hit up a stream for the boys out there.
yeah. Oh my
Like
gosh.
turn it on and then we just play some
Yeah.
Rocket League. What's sick? Before they went to Epic Games, they had a bundle where it was the Fast and Furious car, the Dom Toretto.
I remember
The Dom Toretto car, and I bought that, and that's my car. And then I put a Viking helmet on it. And last night I looked at my tracker; it tracks goals on my Brunehild, my
that.
Viking
Yeah,
helmet.
you-
I eclipsed 1,000 goals with my Brunehild, so I'm at 1,002 goals with it. So I'm feeling good. We'll definitely hit that up because I love Rocket League. I think you want to talk about games that last a long time. I mean, it's just car soccer. How do you beat that game? You can't. And then you tune into Twitch and you look at their like pro league, and they're still pulling in like 20,000 wow every time they stream like a regular weekend. So Rocket League is out there. It's thriving. It's doing well, but not as good in my mind as Apex Legends, because we have, boys and girls, a bunch to talk about this week in the ALGS. Lots of action, lots of fun stuff. Before we get into the full weekend, I'm going to throw a suggestion out there, and I want to see what you guys think, okay? I'm just going to throw a quick one out there.
Mhm.
In the NFL, the coach is a major part of the game. He's doing a lot in the game. The only time the coach cannot get into contact with his players is, I think, right before the whistle blows, they cut the mics in that, like, because quarterbacks have a headset inside of their helmet, and I believe some defensive players do as well. I believe
Only
it's
one.
like one, right?
Whoever the captain is of that like that's calling the plays for the defense. Yep.
What if at the beginning of each zone, right? Like beginning of each zone. So it closes in, new zone. What if the mic for the coach could cut in for 10 to 15 seconds? That's it. And then you, like, for the people who get to like stream, I know like Imperial How is always streaming, right? What if for 10 to 15 seconds you heard just a frantic Raven in like zone 4 just calling stuff out real fast, giving it to just How, and then you get that info and then it sends it out. I think, number one, it would provide a bunch for the broadcast, and I think that would be the biggest part of it. The broadcast, if they were on, I don't know, you go to TSM and you hear that go through, just to hear those calls would be absolutely insane. It would add like a lot of aspect to it. I mean, how many times do you watch an NFL game and they cut to like the coach on the sidelines? Just take the Super Bowl, for example. You look at Nick Sirianni, he's tearing up over the national anthem on the sidelines. He's got tears running down his eyes. They pan to Andy Reid and over like a million times during the game. Like, how awesome would it be just for like 10, 15 seconds? They get like, I think there should be limits to it, obviously. Like, maybe the coach can't say exactly what other teams are doing, but they be like, hey, you need to rotate this way, blah, 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 blah. I don't know. I just thought I thought it'd be a cool idea for the broadcast if like you just get those 10 seconds right when the zone hits that you get to say something real fast. Just get it out there. What do you guys think?
I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but I think that's a long time. I don't
5
okay.
seconds. I don't care.
Yeah, we have maybe 5, but it's like, think about it, because coaches would then have their 30 monitors up looking at all different POVs of different teams, and then instantly being like, energy to your, like, imagine talking in like match point format, right?
Match
like
point format. Everybody's like, they're here. They're here. Ape them. Ape them.
Exactly. So I don't know if you could actually do that. I think whenever we were talking to Hotsick in the interview, and if you haven't, make sure you guys go back and listen to that interview. It's insane. It's so good. But one of the things is at LAN, I think there could be, like, they don't have their phones. They don't get their phones. They don't have any earpieces, nothing like that, right? So there wouldn't be able to be some outside source to tell them information. Instead, I think they would be able to rely on their coach a little bit more. And I think Wyatt's idea of maybe a 10-second where they're like right at the beginning of the zone for 10 seconds, they can be like, hey, I think you guys should rotate here, or hey, you guys are doing great, or whatever, right? And I think that would be the exception, because I think if you do it online, there's just so many.
So maybe
things.
just do LAN. Maybe just do it for LAN.
Yeah.
I'd be down with that too, because we got that picture of Raven looking like a mafia boss, just sitting in that chair back there. Yeah, it was sitting back there, just like veiled in shadows. But no, I think it'd be so cool. Just be like, all right, zone close in. Let's get a quick listen in with the head coach Raven on TSM, and he's like, wrap the hill. You're gonna need to wrap the hill, and then it cuts off before he can finish exactly what his thought is because they only give him that much time. Imagine like the stress that would come from that. I actually think it could be bad for some teams if they're not able to get the full thought out, but it would provide so much like commentary and like interesting back and forth. I think. I don't know. I was thinking about it just I was thinking about it just because I was like, damn, it'd be so interesting to have the coaches more involved, because now we're starting to see more and more coaches come in. That I just think it'd be cool to like have more of that moving forward. But it was just an idea. It was just a thought, just a quick thought. Enoch, did you have any thoughts on it or not?
Yeah, I
Mr.
just don't think it's realistic. And yeah, that's my beef. And I was writing up.
No, you're good.
An apology note to Zara for me tilting today.
It's okay, we all tilt and rank sometimes.
Bro, I had about a 2-hour streak of just like a combination of like me just like egregiously selling off of just like personal mistakes, but then after like just straight like 3-man pushing the building and I get 3-2-1 in the back on the way in, like stuff like that.
Oh,
and
miserable.
It was just like 2 hours straight, and I failed at not letting my external circumstance dictate my emotional state. And I definitely, my vibes were chalked. And so much so that Watson literally messaged me and he was like, hey, are you good? You were kind of tilted. You seemed kind of tilted today. And I was like, yeah, no, definitely that happened. That was my fault. Might be. Dude, I feel so bad whenever you're like, when you're just going down first.
When you're the reason why your team's losing RP. Yeah, it's pretty miserable.
And you just know that it's you. I just like, it's so hard for me to like keep the vibes right, just because I like, not from the point of like my own RP getting chalked, but from the point of I'm just like ruining the experience for my teammates.
Yeah,
and that's just so. It's definitely something that I struggle with, and that is a challenge, which thankfully it doesn't happen too often. At least I'd like to think so. But dude, today it was just like 2 hours of just egregious. Like it felt like I was just. Every single game, it was like, how am I going to toss this one? But learn from it. Rip the apology message to Zara. But that's my beef from my keyboard. I'm not used to a mechanical one, but yeah, I'm still working off the one I got from Walmart when I spilled on my other one.
No, you're good.
You're all good.
I think I think what you said is so good, because I think a lot of our listeners can relate. Like if they played ranked and they've gone down, or they've been like the main person in the bad.
Everybody
like,
has those days.
Yeah, like they were the one costing the RP. You're just like, oh, there's something about it. There's like it's a mental game, 100%. And so I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think our listeners are going to be able to relate to that.
100%. Okay, boys. Let's head into the overall rankings and then day 3 and day 4. Leading out our overall rankings right now, remember to keep in perspective that some of these teams have only played 3 days. Or sorry, have only played 2 days, while other teams have played 3. But number 1 right now is FaZe. Dark Zero is number 2. Optic Gaming sitting at number 3, and XSET at 4, with 100 Thieves in that 5th spot. Some notable teams sitting around other places in the standings. We have Tripods. Very unfortunate. Tripods sitting right there at the very, very bottom. They've had 2 days of just 3 points and 2 points. They're going to need a big bounce back if they have any chance of making land. Another one, Luminosity, sitting low at 23rd. They did have a really solid day on day 3, I believe. It was 11 points for them. So they're starting to make their comeback a little bit. But Luminosity with a tough day, as well as Oxygen right above them. And then not too far away, we have just a gauntlet of teams still trying to figure things out. We've got TSM at 18th, Furia tied for 16th, BBB tied for 16th, Sentinels 15th, and Lanimals at 13. So just that middle area, it's like those teams that have a really good roster, have really solid players on it, but they haven't figured out exactly what they need to figure out moving forward. So keeping an eye on all of that. Boys, overall right now, anything that stands out to you or you're looking at and being like, that's interesting?
Say it every week. You go eat. No, go
Dude,
eat. Go.
No, I just
go,
wanted to say
go.
I was very happily surprised by the performance from Optic, because I know that was a team that we had talked about how they have a ton of pressure on them. They got dropped getting into the mix. Like, they definitely had the chance of not doing nearly as well as they did today, or as they did that day. And so for them to pop off and have like a really strong 25-point day, gotta love walking away with a W. And I think that like Optic doing well, I think is just good for like Apex as a whole. Because if the Optic boys end up getting excited about their Apex Legends like pro team doing well, and we start seeing like the potential of an Optic watch party for ALGS, that could go absolutely silly in terms of being able to bring new people to Apex. Dude, imagine Scump and Hex rip a Apex Legends watch party. How cool would that be? And so I think if you're an Apex Legends fan, you want to see Optic be one of those teams that make LAN. And this past weekend they showed us that they definitely have the capabilities to do it, and we'll see what happens moving forward. But for me, that was one thing that I was excited about.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine, dude? That would bring so many eyes to Apex. It'd be crazy.
So many Warzone people would be like, "Whoa, this game's way better."
I know a lot of people were I know TST, like Hitch and the boys were like, since they're a group of 3, they obviously would play Apex Legends because it's a group of 3. And I know that they were on a kick for a while, but yeah, I know there's a few people in Optic that enjoy it, so I hope that would be so sick if that actually happened. To give my surprise, or maybe it's not a surprise because it's not necessarily a surprise that we're talking about it, but it's a surprise because, oh my gosh, TSM is literally in 18th place, and they have played 3 days, and there are teams that are behind them that have only played 2 that are more than likely going to pass them, which means that TSM will probably fall in the bottom, like below top 20 after this weekend, which is so insane for us to even say that, considering how dominant they looked at LAN and through last Pro League. So, I don't know. I think I'm surprised. I don't know. I know How doesn't particularly like this meta, but that is probably my biggest surprise. And then, of course, LG and Oxygen have only played 2 days, but seeing them at 22nd and 23rd is pretty surprising for me when it comes to just. I mean, we expected at least one of those teams to pop off. I mean, LG has kind of proven even at LAN that they're a top 10 team in not just North America, but in the world. So seeing them in 23rd in just North America, even after 2 days, is
2 points, 2 days.
Yeah, no, right. I know they do have to have pop-off days. Like, people, if you want to get into that auto qual spot, like, there is no days left where you can just mess around and have a bad day, right? Like,
if you're in like the bottom half, you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. There's no shot. Like, you can't afford to have another bad day, especially as Wyatt brings this up every single time that we talk about preview of the Pro League. This has happened now twice, where there's teams that are maybe more talented on paper, but they're not showing it in the standings. And these teams are only going to continue to keep getting better. And like, the competition is not like dropping off at all. If anything, it's going up higher. So that's my thoughts. Wyatt, I would love to hear your thoughts on your surprise.
Yeah, I just want to continue to talk about FaZe, and I want to continue to talk about Phony. Some of the plays that he pulled off were insane on day 4. There was one where he took the upstairs of a building in it was oh dude, it's right outside of the train state or like the train tracks. There's like a little station overlooking what's the place?
Staging.
It's on World's Edge. It's on World's Edge.
Staging.
No, the like bottom portion of the map.
Bottom
The
portion of the
lava
map.
area. There was
Okay.
a contest on it last
Like dome and like launch site.
other side.
Bottom side.
Yeah.
On the other. Thermal station.
Thermal station. Yeah, so there was a building across from thermal station on the train tracks. I don't know what you guys would call that. You know that collection of like 3 buildings?
Yeah.
Right next to that zip line. He just took the upstairs of one, and they ended up losing a fight that they easily could have won. I forgot who they lost it to. I want to say it was Glytch Energy. But they go in there and they take the upstairs. They completely lock down the building. And it was just an insane call because there was already 2 teams there. He still took the building and was able to lock it down. And if the zone didn't pull a certain direction, they probably would have been in a good spot. But not enough good things I can say about FaZe. Snipedown has had a good couple of games as well. He's racking up some kills. I just love Phony. I love how they're playing. They're doing a really solid job. That's really my surprise. The one thing I want to say too, going back to your point, Finn, about teams and teams with big names not playing as well, is we look at some of these other teams that are coming around, and this was my same point I made in Split 1. I think a lot of these teams are like, okay, we didn't get Split 1, we didn't do as well in LAN as we would have liked to. That's okay. We're just going to run it back in Split 2. And it's like, well, hold up. Team Glytch Energy just came out of nowhere. They're really solid. They're looking really solid. Team Diverge was a new team. They are doing really well. They're sitting at 11th place right now. You've got what did Finn call them last week? The meat riders. We got meat lovers right now sitting at 7th. They're doing really well. A lot of times you think that you're just going to go into that next split and everything's going to be okay, but that's not how it works because there's always fresh blood coming into the scene and they're always going to be gunning for exactly what you're gunning for. You can't look at it from that perspective. There's a lot of great players, and sometimes great players are decent on other teams, but then you put them in the correct spot, all of a sudden it opens up a brand new potential. And that's what we're seeing with a lot of these newer teams. So you say to yourself in the preseason, well, Lanimals looks good on paper. They should be really, really good. And they had a great final day. That's not to take away from it, but they're still sitting at 13th, and right above them is all of those teams we just talked about. We just talked about Diverge is above them, Glytch is above them, Meat Lovers above them, and also another team, Drug Free, is above them. And we said that they were going to have some drama and they were going to be, kind of
team's shocked. The team's
dealing with
bro.
all that. They haven't been doing well, but they're still sitting above them, and that's crazy because they have all that drama. What were you gonna say?
They went from 16 points their first day to then 7 points and then 6. So they gained more points that first day than they have the other 2 days combined.
Hold up, quick math. That's 7 plus 6 is 13, I think.
Mm-hmm. So that is a real testament to, like, if you are planning on throwing a coup, make sure you do your research, because if you try to do the coup and it doesn't work, you chalk your season.
Yeah, and that's kind of where we're at. But still, nonetheless, they're still ahead of them, even with the drastic drop off. So it's just one of those things you have to keep an eye on. There's always going to be new teams coming in and gunning for that same thing. And you can't just assume you're going to make it. And I think that's where a lot of these teams are at right now. So that's kind of where we're sitting.
I have one thing, Wyatt, and this will be the last thing on the overall standings for me at least. Exit is in 4th place, and they have played 2 days. Okay, they have a 25 and a 21. That means they got first place and a second place in their days that they played Pro League. They are the only team that has played 2 days worth, not 3 days worth, until you get to 16th place. Okay, we talk about the consistency, and I personally have them at the number 1 team in the world right now because they
real quick. Who's that 16th place team?
BBB. Okay. Enoch, dude. So yeah, I really do. I think Xset just is showcasing their world class, bro, with a first place and a second place going into this weekend, and they're gonna have their third day finally. So I mean, I don't know. It's something you love to see. You love to see it from the boys, but I just think that that's mad impressive. That they've only played 2 days, and then the only other team, like they're the only team that's in the top 15 that has only played 2 days, which is so impressive. And just yeah, that's it.
Yes, the beacon of consistency continues to shine on for Xset. They're doing great. They're doing fantastic. Boys, let's move into day one and talk about some of the storylines that went.
Ooh, before we do that,
Oh, you got one?
I want to say one more thing. Dude, Lanimals with a 15-point day, they really did have their back against the wall with a 7-point and a 4-point day. And so if they did not have a strong day 4, like of the total like ALGS series, like their LAN potential would be absolutely chalked. And so it was really, really cool to see them with their backs against the wall, be able to put up a big day, walk away with some much, much, much needed points. And they put themselves in a lot better position than they were in before they headed into the day. And so I think that Lanimals is definitely going to be a team that you're going to want to keep your eye out on as we are getting close to ending this split. Because if that team is planning on making LAN, they're going to have more days like they did on their last one than they did their first 2.
And I didn't want to have to do this. I really didn't. But we owe Finn an apology because a lot of Lanimal's success came off of the
We
back
don't have to
of
say it was
using.
because of that. We don't have to say it was because of
We
that.
don't, but we have to. We gotta give him something. Finn with the rampart from the clouds. Lanimals busts out the rampart. Alberlelli goes crazy with it. And honestly, they probably could have had a better day. There was one game on Storm Point I thought they were going to win at the very end. Dude, Naughty is so fucking funny. I was watching all the Storm Point games from their perspective just because I think they're interesting. They're super fun to watch. And I'm watching Naughty stream, and he's in some small building, and they're just having an onslaught of teams rush them, and he just starts shooting everyone, like he's clipping everybody, and you just hear him go, "I'm fucking clipping shit," and then Albert's like, "Naughty, chill, calm down, we gotta stay here." Like he's trying to keep him like in this, like keep him from going too crazy. He was cracked out of his mind. He was shooting everybody. He was beaming everybody. They almost win that game. I think they had one misplay with the Rampart right at the very end. Otherwise, they would have won. But Lanimals with the Rampart, I think they're showing the rest of the league there's a legitimate play with Rampart. And last week, Finn brought it up that it was getting used in EU. Now it's coming on over to NA. Rampart, could we see a takeover? I'm not 100% sure we'll see a takeover, so to speak. But Rampart is getting played in NA, and she was getting played well.
I'll I'll be accepting all of the apology letters. Those will be sent out early next week. So I hope you have your essays planned because I will be grading them. I would love to read those on live so I can hear, the sweet justice that I'm getting.
Yeah, it was crazy to watch. And what Albert Lilly said on in between one of the matches was he was like, dude, the thing about Rampart is people just get tired of shooting your shields eventually because number one, they're running out of ammo, especially late game in those matches. Like they can't afford to waste a clip shooting out a Rampart shield. And number two, there's just like fatigue from it. That was like what he was saying. And I think that rings so true because you really, I mean, you look at a lot of these teams, usually by the end of the game, it's like you're running with like 50 light ammo going into the final fight. Like with some of them, some teams are able to get looted, but there are others who have to rush in at the end and they just don't have the resources to be able to shoot out a Rampart shield. You bring in the Sheila aspect to it. It's like, holy shit, like this legend could be a legit game breaker if put in the right hands. So that was an aspect that I wasn't expecting to see this weekend, but the Rampart came out in full force and Alb was going crazy with it. So once again, Finn, here are your flowers. We apologize, or I should say, I apologize for the Rampart slander. But she's been out
Enoch,
here.
Enoch
If
has
been out
there was
here.
a player, if there was a player in NA who would be able to make it happen, that guy's out for sure.
Yeah. And we get into it. We get into a little bit of Rampart talk with Aidan because he is one of the notorious like controller players that tried to make it a thing for a while. So we'll get into with him. But yeah, thank you. I appreciate it once again.
All
Good
right,
call,
let's
friend.
move. Yeah, great job. Great job. All right, let's move into day 3 and go through the results from some of that. We get into our winners of the day. We had 100 Thieves back in the win column. They won the day with 66 points. Second was Xset. Third was Furia. Fourth was Dark Zero. And fifth, quietly, was NRG. Our winners, the first game went to Furia. Second game went to the Inters. Third game went to 100 Thieves. Fourth game went back to Furia. They won 2 on the day. Fifth game went to Xset, and the sixth game went to 100 Thieves. They also won 2 games on the day. Boys, any storylines or any teams, any plays that stuck out to you from Saturday, day 3?
Bro, the last game. So Xset was going into that game was going to win it unless 100T popped off, and won the game, which they did. I have to. Okay, so I cannot remember who died, but I'm thinking specifically in Lightning Rod. They were playing in a horrible spot, but I believe it was drug free. Is that? Yeah, it was. I think it was drug free that entered on Furia up top, and they left Godspot, and 100G as a duo went and took Godspot, and then won the day off of that. So I have to give props to 100T. I mean, they placed consistently well. We know that that's kind of their strategy is to do placement more than kills, but you have to give them their macro was insane, and then their micro was obviously insane. If they threw down a seer ulti, no one was even attacking them. They threw down a seer ulti just to get info on the people that were fighting up top to see if they could go and get Godspot, and they did. And it's just like that's the type of stuff where it's like that's a high risk, high reward type of game, like play style, and like because the seer ulti is so strong, right? And so I don't know. I have to give the props to 100T. Day 3 was theirs. Very typical performance out of them.
100T is really representing for those M&K players out there. You love to see it for them, showing that it is not a completely dead input for the game that we know and love, as they are the only team in A who is triple M&K. And so you love to see them being able to put up a dub there. But yeah, Xset is continuing to show us that they are, like, I'm pretty sure I said earlier that I think that, like, for, like, at least, like, a year or two, that Xset will be, like, a dominant top 5 consistent team. And they're only showing that more and more. Another just pop-off day for them. And then Furia, still don't know which one it is. They came up big. You love to see them walk away with 2 wins on the day. And yeah, they had a really strong performance, put them in a really good spot. I believe they are with 2 days played, and they have, I believe they are also tied for that 16th place with 24 points, if I am right on that. And then DZ with another solid outing, putting up points, showing they're strong. And yeah, it was it's a good day. The tripods are definitely having a worse split this season than they did a season ago. And so something that is promising is they did have a fairly good scrim tonight. I think they were, for a while, they were leading. They had a really good scrim one, and then they kept up pretty solid all the way through. But I do think that is a team that we're going to see turn it around. I think they're going to only... that is just a team that is not going to be satisfied with the performance that they've been putting up, and they're gonna start working harder. They're gonna start putting in the time. I'm sure of it, and I think we'll see tripods hopefully come alive a little bit more, and yeah, we'll see what happens. What about you, Wyatt?
We got
hold on. We had to. Yeah,
we got to talk about.
I'm glad we're on the same page.
Yeah,
here.
we're on. I looked at you. I knew it. I'm gonna tweet out a screenshot from the Apex the podcast account. There is a screenshot of just open ocean and just a random trident in the middle of this ocean, and there's just it like watching it from the stream. So for those who don't know, game 5 on Storm Point, like the stream is going normal. They're watching a fight. There's like a fight going down. I don't even know exactly where it was, but then they're like, and now we pan over to, it looks like the tripods are in trouble, and it's literally, there's no context. It's just a trident out at the edge of the map in the middle of the ocean, and a team just hunting them down, just shooting long range, charge rifling them from land, from the beach, and you're just like, how did this happen? Like what happened? And it's so funny, and it sucks because it would have been even funnier if they had like a better day and they could laugh about it, but they finished 18th, so it's something that hopefully we can look back in the rearview mirror when they're at LAN and be like, that was funny. But I just wanted, when I saw that screenshot pop on my screen, my jaw dropped and I just started laughing. And it's hard not to laugh at, because you're like, how the hell did this happen? Like, it's just like a whole story. It was like it's the classic like record scratch freeze frame. Yep. Bet you're wondering how I got myself in this situation. Well, and then it just does like a flashback. Like it was the classic moment of one of those, like how'd they get caught in the middle of the ocean in a trident? I don't know. It was wild. That entire screenshot, that entire moment, I think pretty much sums up the Tripod's day. It just didn't go well for them. They did have a decent game where they finished, I think, 6th, and they had 4 kills. But other than that, there was just a lot of tough finishes. They had decent placement. They just couldn't get any kills with it. So tough day for the Tripods, and I really hope they bounce back, because I do want, like, I think a lot of people get a lot of they fire off a lot of tweets on TL about the team just because of who's on it, and I think that's super unfair because it's a tough league out there. But we'll see what happens with the Tripods moving forward. Definitely a tough day. But like, as far as the funniest screenshots, that's their number one in that aspect. That was the best one for sure.
Yeah, it was pretty much a four team race between DZ, Furia, Exa, and 100T. You could say Energy, but because they had a decent game last game, like DZ and Energy kind of flopped last game, and then Furia and Exa and 100T were kind of like in the potential chance of winning it. So day 3 was kind of like, dude, I wanted to talk about this before we get into day 4, if you're okay with it. But I want to talk about like the meta, like why me and Wyatt were talking about this a little bit before before the podcast, but I don't know if it's me as a viewer and now not like as a player, but like it feels kind of, I don't know, it's weird to watch sometimes, like watching ALGS, or at least the past 2 days it was weird. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
So before we get into like our actual thoughts, on Sunday they put up like a little graphic of the pick rates. Seer is still at 90%, which I think is the inherent problem. But I believe the next closest legend was 60%, and I believe it was Valkyrie. No, it was Catalyst, or what? It was one of those two. It doesn't really matter. But 90% for one legend, I think, is just not gonna be good. And I think a lot of people look at Catalyst and say that's the one that's causing the problems. I actually think it's still Seer. I think Seer is still the problem. Like all the cancels and all the different things that Seer provides. I think that's what makes it not fun. I think actually the wall aspect, and Aidan talks about it a little bit in the interview. He loves Catalyst, and he loves like the creativity that you can make with Catalyst. And I think the wall is super interesting, especially for Stormpoint. But Seer makes it not interesting because you can just see right through it if you have the right, tools at your disposal. So I don't know how you guys feel, but I think Seer is still a pretty big problem right now, and I think that it has to be addressed.
Yeah, he is an issue, for to say the least, and I don't know. I think it's just limiting on as weird as it sounds, it feels like it's very limiting on the creativity of fights. And it's because it's very cookie cutter esque. I mean, shoot, I think. Oh gosh, what game was it? I think it was between Optic. Yeah, it was game 5. It was round 5. It was on Stormpoint, and Optic and Exet, they both like had 2 catalyst walls. It was right next to a little dock right down by fish farms, and they had a like it was 2 cat walls and then 2 seer ults, and they were just shooting at the they were just shooting at the diamonds. That's it. They were shooting through walls, both of them. They were both 2 walls up in the it looked like a drag race, like literally, like it was just like a parallel thing, and then they were just shooting through through the walls. It was so like silly. I don't know. I thought it was
definitely heard it described as like the most boring from a viewer perspective. I've heard a lot of people saying that like this is like the worst meta to watch because like it ends up just being Cyril that goes down, cat walls up, and everybody's just shooting diamonds. And like I definitely hope that they fix that soon because at least in the trailer they baited the shit out of everybody, making us think that the seer wall was gonna get blocked by a cat, and then but it just doesn't do that. And so hopefully that is a change that they'll end up implementing because I do think that seer I do think that there's a chance you'd see less seers if that change is made, but only time will tell. But yeah, I think the idea of we have this beautiful FPS filled with so many different cool abilities, then at the end of the day, when we're showing it off at the highest level, it ends up being pro players shooting at triangles. That's just a problem.
No, Onmu said it the best. Like I think they had like a live listen in one of their games, and he was like he was breaking down what they were gonna do, and he's like, "Just shoot the diamonds, boys. Just shoot the diamonds." And it was like, when you minimize this game to just that, I don't think any game would be fun if you minimized it to just that. Like it was just that's what it's become, is just shoot the diamonds. That's where we're at. So no, yeah, I definitely think I think Catalyst can be interesting, but you got to take Seer. You got to get Seer out of here. It just has to be done. But yeah, I definitely agree with that. Okay, boys, you want to move into day 4? Lots of storylines here. Let's go through the results real quick. Optic Gaming at the top, 85 points. It wasn't even close. Second place was at 58. Second place was MLS. Third, CLG. Fourth was FaZe. And fifth were the Lanimals. The first game of the day actually went to TSM, who ended up finishing 10th. So they started off great, did not have a good rest of the day. The second game was won by FaZe, third by CLG, fourth by the Lanimals, fifth by Sentinels, and the last game of the day, MLS with a 15-kill win. Boys, day 4, what'd you guys think?
Okay, got to give the flowers. First and foremost, got to give the flowers to CLG. I think this team looks way better with iShiny as IGL. I know for a while Alb was kind of trialing after the IGL kind of situation that happened with FaZe. And it seems like iShiny is kind of bringing that more stability, calm factor. It's kind of how Lou is for Lanimals. And so to see them get third place in a game, like in a pretty I mean, obviously it's all stacked lobbies, but in a kind of environment where it's at right now, it seems like they've kind of found their groove. They run Caustic on World's Edge, which I think is pretty unique. Not a lot of teams are running Caustic right now, and
that boy Mamba loves him some Caustic.
It's gross. It's pretty gross.
Loves him. Now I would say of Caustic players, he is a top tier. Like that man and his gas traps. Like I don't know, he's different on the Gas Daddy.
Yeah, I think of him and Sung are like the 2 Caustic people in my head. Obviously, let's give props to Optic Gaming. You know, this was their pop-off day, and whenever they had their listen-in, it seemed like Dropped and Skittles were kind of playing off each other. I believe Dropped has like the final say is like the hard, I guess the more IGL or whatever, like his word goes type of deal. But that team seems to be like rocking and grooving, which is crazy because I'm pretty sure I remember thinking that they were gonna maybe not do super well, but it seems like this meta actually is beneficial for this squad, which is nice. Okay, news about MLS who did get second place, right? Um, Lux tweeted out after this day and said, "Hey, I am actually stepping down as a player, and I am going to be going to the challengers and making my own team, and I'm going to be an IGL." And so he's like, "I would rather not play this out and be a support player or a fragger role." He said, he wants to be an IGL and he wants to do it the right way by starting in challengers. And so some people were saying, and I think this would be great with Timmy and Lyric. I think he would be a perfect like IGL controller player for them. And so don't be just surprised if we end up seeing them. I think right now Ossivian is trialing for that team. But
Dude, now that you say it, that actually just sounds like they'd be nutty. Like that could be a really, really good fit. I do think that I think he might be trying to play with Golden. I'm not 100% positive.
Ooh, yeah, I like that.
But I know that is somebody that has a fairly good amount of play time with, and that they vibe and mesh really well. But yeah, dude, I would say that Lux, he is somebody that over like the past couple seasons has really, really, really come a long way in terms of his player development. I remember like running against him and being like, oh, like he's decent, but like he's not anything like crazy. And now I'm just like, okay, yeah, no, that was Luxford. I just got shit on. It happens. And so I'm really excited to see his new development and what he's going to be able to do as an IGL and what he's going to bring to the table. It's going to be fun, dude, because I think any team that he's on is going to absolutely like roll Challenger Circuit. Like I feel like there's always like a couple teams in Challenger Circuit who are just like a level above the other ones, and whoever is playing on Luxford's team is going to be that team, you know.
I feel like on the opposite side of the coin, we have to talk about like what is it what dude, how many times has Madness had to get like new teammates in the past 6 months? Like this guy is going through it.
It's like the amount of teammates that guy's had is insane.
I feel bad. Like I don't now. So him and Shuby I believe they picked up Reptar though. So I think Reptar for this squad. I was watching a little bit of scrims, like Enoch was pointing out, and I saw Reptar kind of popping off. So I think he'll be a very good substitute for Lux. I don't think they're the same type of player, but I think they're both really good players. I think you'll have to mold around it a little bit more, but I think maybe with some reps, they can continue to keep that land spot, because as of right now, I think MLS has a spot at land with this second place performance. But yeah, that's the top three. Obviously, FaZe getting fourth. Lanimals, I think E said like this was a momentum day, and they brought out the Rampart and Sheila, and it seemed like it was the Storm Point is where they found a lot more success than their World's Edge. So something to keep an eye out on to see if they make any adjustments. Another thing is TSM started off the day by winning, and then they just flopped. Like, I mean, it's just so hard to see that from TSM. And then you could also say the opposite happened with Sentinels, where they started out slow and then they finished like pretty decently. I don't know what's going on between those two teams, but it feels like meta is like not really suitable for them at this current moment. Like, okay, meta right now, like a lot of teams are just like full, like, they'll Valcolt feed face, right? Like that. I think Wig says that terminology often in his watch parties, which is like, okay, these people have no other options. They're going to hit a Valcolt and then just going to feed phase, try and find a spot, and then just give somebody free KP, right? And that's starting to happen quite a bit from the stuff that I've been watching. So a lot of people are, once again, new zones, right? We mentioned that at towards the beginning. New zones and oh wait, we didn't mention that in the beginning. Excuse me. That was going to be later whenever Enoch talks about his stuff like that he talks about later. But essentially right now a lot of teams are getting caught out on their macro. And what I'm saying is right now I am surprised to see Sentinels placing this low considering how much this meta is based around your zone knowledge, and I am playing heavy zone right now, and so seeing that, I'm just a little surprised. But yeah, that I guess those would be my two my surprises of the day, really. Which would be TSM and Sentinels, but and maybe Glitch Energy too. And we get into with it to Aidan. He talked about like they just had a pretty rough day, but I think Glitch Energy, I think we all can say that they are the best, if not the top 3 best fighting teams in North America. Like no one's wanting to fight them, and so, yeah, weird to see that. And then Team Diverge are the fan favorites that we wanted y'all to be fan favorites of last week. Unfortunately, did not have a good day, so we'll see if they have a bounce back. But that's my thoughts on day 4.
Real quick. CLG, day 3, 6th, day 4, 3rd. Really solid back-to-back days. So CLG could be a team that's sneaky, coming up on some people's radars that they maybe hadn't been thinking about before. This is a team that you want to keep your eye on. If you're tuning into the streams and you're trying to go through all the different ones, try to keep a look at CLG because they're starting to come up here a little bit. So yeah, that was one of the better teams throughout those first 2 days. And then yeah, do you guys have anything else? Anything else that comes to mind when it comes to day 4? Good.
Dude, I think the CLGs that they definitely deserve us to be talking about them. The performance that they've had, I know we already did address it a little bit, but yeah, that is a team that you should definitely have your eyes on. It really does seem like Mamba and Nana have found that solid fit that they were struggling to find, and that is a team like Mamba and Nana, like those boys are shooters, like. And now that they have somebody who's able to really just help put them into like the right spots, it's gonna be fun to see how they perform the rest of Pro League, because it really does feel like they're starting to find their stride and settle in and get more comfortable with each other as a team. And so that's definitely a dynamic that you need to be paying attention to, is that a lot of these teams, they have had changes, and that the more accustomed and the more they get used to these changes that they've made, they're just going to perform better and better. And the teams that are struggling out there, they gotta figure it out. Only so much time left.
That is 100% correct. We are already on day 5. All we're going to have left is day 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and the final. So not too many spots, lots of teams gunning for them. It's going to be a heavy race to the finish, especially for a lot of these bigger teams, as we mentioned earlier on when we were talking about the overall standings. Ladies and gents, we are going to send it on down to Aidan the Destroyer of the currently ninth place Glytch Energy team. Talk to him about his inception into the game, where he came from, arenas of all things. We're going to get through all of that, and we have an awesome interview with Aidan. We're going to hit a quick ad, and on the other side, Aidan the Destroyer. All right, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. We are here with Aidan the Destroyer from Team Glytch Energy. Aidan, you guys are doing well in Pro League right now, sitting at that 9th spot. You've taken a lot of people by surprise. How are you doing? How are you feeling, my man?
Feeling pretty good. I think we have a really high chance to qualify for LAN with the changes we've made since last split.
Oh, definitely. And you guys have been definitely turning heads, looking really good. There's a lot going into your team right now, but I think the most interesting aspect of your team is the fact that you guys came from arenas. The mode that has been since sent to the graveyard. It is no longer a thing. But you guys came from arenas, at least 2 of you did, can you kind of go through just your journey through the arenas gauntlet and how it got you to ALGS Pro League?
All right. So, I mean, we played like a tiny bit of comp before arenas came out, just mostly for fun. Then arenas came out. You know, most of my friends hate battle royale, so we really enjoyed just the 3v3 fighting in arena, and we ended up peaking rank 1, but arenas obviously wasn't all it's cracked up to be, as people soon found out. So we started to transition back into BR a lot more. So I think the team we made, it was me, Reeds, and Dimmy.
I think it was Demi.
Yeah, I don't know.
Arena
We're on the team
Demons.
with
It was
Dimmy.
Dimmy. It was Dimmy. I'm pretty sure.
Oh wait, it was me, Dimmy, and Ronnie. That's what it was.
Was it Ronnie and then Dimmy? Because I feel like Dimmy was, or at least Dimmy was part of that arenas crew for a while too.
That was definitely our first ALGS squad, and of course, but with that team, you know, we did the UMG tourneys were really fun. That was our first thing into comp was the arena tourneys, which I wish that. Oh wait, they can't bring them back anymore. I guess.
Well, I wanted to get into that a little bit, Aidan. I remember you guys were you guys made such an impact in your arenas and how well you guys absolutely ripped everybody, right? That you guys were the only non-pro squad that got invited to all of these arena tournaments, which is crazy to think about. But I mean, you guys had such showcase so much ability, and then you guys are just absolutely destroying pro teams and making it to finals and winning all these arena tournaments. I would love to hear your perspective on that, because you were like, oh well, we're just better in arenas. We could probably showcase and move this talent to battle royale.
It's really funny because we weren't initially invited. I think a team didn't show up, and then the guy hit up Ronnie and he's like, yo, you want to play in this arena tournament? And we were like, yeah. And then we ended up placing second, our first time competing pretty much ever for Sirius at least. And then they did a couple more. We had some third and fourth finishes as people started to learn it more.
Yeah, I just kind of want to get into the grind of wanting to go down the arenas thing. Did you see arenas get announced and then you're like, dude, I'm just gonna fucking go for it? Or what was that thought process leading up to being I want to be number one in arenas? Or did it just kind of come naturally?
So basically, Dimmy and Ronnie basically quit the game for a while, and then arenas got released, and as I said, they hate BRs. I'm all right with BRs. I prefer arena, but as they came back and played arenas, and they were really excited, and so we grinded it together and went to go for rank 1.
So it was more like the teammates, your boys were just hey, let's go for it. Do you know off the top of your head how many games you won in a row? Because I remember there was a little tracker that would show you how many times you won in a row, I think.
I'm trying to think. I mean, I didn't really go for it, so I think mine was 46 for a long time, but Reeds...
That's still insane.
Reeds, for example, had 99.
Damn. That's crazy. That's an absolutely crazy grind. I know we've talked a lot of arenas early here, but I just it's crazy to me to see this happen to transition from that to where you guys are now. What were some things you were wishing that they would change about the mode before they were just you know what, fuck it, we're scrapping it?
Oh my god, just the meta, just Mozam hammer points for 3 whole seasons. So bad. Just the cheapest gun is just the most broken, and to make it worse, you don't even have to shoot your gun straight. You could just miss, and 2 pellets will always hit. I think it's just the meta is the biggest thing. People are always talking about, oh, let's make it search and destroy, or control, but I don't know. I think it was just mostly just the meta. If the meta was fun, I think arenas would be fun.
There we go. Perfect.
So one thing you just mentioned there was that that it was cheesy. And that's very interesting coming from you, because I remember when I would play arenas that there was this annoying dude that would sit in the back all day, every match, rampart walled up with a charged sentinel. And so it's interesting from you to hear the word cheesy.
Hey, I mean, like, I'm cheesy. I didn't say I wasn't cheesy.
No, I bringing it up as a joke, but like I remember you had a very specific play style that was very much to that. It was like whenever somebody was like playing against you, it was beyond obvious that you were Aidan. And so what really inspired and was like the motivation behind you kind of carving your own path, especially early on in the arena scene, as not going like the traditional like, oh, I'm gonna play wingman and then do that. You were odd to like the nicest way possible. You were just very odd.
I don't know. I just think it's really important to think outside the box. Like, if you're just gonna do what everyone else is doing, like, it's always gonna be an even matchup. You gotta like find ways to cheese it a little bit sometimes, right? I mean, a lot of the top teams, like especially in just normal ALGS, they innovated, right? That's my thought process.
Okay, speaking of ALGS and Rampart, as of right now, there's a few teams running Rampart in EU and in North America, and I would love to. It's not you. That was the biggest thing we talked right before we got live on the interview. But I was shocked that out of all the people, you guys are not running Rampart, and so I would love to hear your thoughts on Rampart being in kind of a niche pick right now, and then two, maybe a little bit about y'all's team comp and how the meta is, and how it pertains to y'all's strengths of the squad.
So, in terms of our team comp, I just think we're at least one of, if not the best on our characters. Like, I've been playing Catalyst literally since she came out, and Valk obviously, or sorry, Reeds has 10k kills on Valk. Ever since we teamed, Vane's been on Seer forever. So we're just all the best on our individual characters, and it's just like the simplest comp to make. So that's why we run it. In terms of like other teams running Rampart, it actually isn't as crazy as a lot of people probably think. Like, she's pretty much the only other controller that like does more than just hold down buildings, you know? So like Caustic kind of has, a little bit of a siege ability, but not really on Stormpoint, right? So Catalyst and Rampart are just the only two controllers that have like something else to offer than just holding down buildings sort of thing. So that's why I think a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, but some people have considered Rampart as a decent pick.
But you guys aren't considering it right now, despite your experience with Rampart.
So we actually discussed it a tiny bit as a joke sort of thing, because we were just playing ranked one day. We were just thinking like, what is the counter pick to the meta right now? We were just thinking of all these ideas that may or may not be troll, and I thought, oh, what if we just play like Catalyst, Rampart, Seer, and just put up walls, put the Seer scans down, and just start letting the Sheila rip at all the diamonds.
The issue you run in with that, or at least I'm guessing, is like you don't have a ton of macro, so it's like you're all in on pricking your guessing zone, and you're all in on that. And even then, if you get far zone, depending on where you land, like that is going to be a tough rotate, and then you're kind of in a really rough spot with your team comp, right? So would that be the reason why you guys decided against it?
Yeah, you don't really want to base your whole comp around one singular play, I don't think. I think the other comp is much more well-rounded.
So getting into what's been going on so far, day one, you guys get a second place. You guys have a great day, and you guys have been doing pretty well. Obviously, last night was probably the toughest day. But what do you think's contributed so much to your guys' early success so far? Because it seems like you guys kind of just came out of nowhere here, but there's been a lot of, I would say probably behind the scenes that's really helped you guys out. What's one of those things that comes to mind when you think like, this is why we're playing so much better this split?
First of all, we learned our lesson from last split that just running around, killing everyone with no plan doesn't really get you a top 10 spot. So that's the first thing. Second thing, which is probably more important, is our coach, Psycho, and our analyst, someone who leaks. they have just done a tremendous job helping us out, especially Psycho. Like he's literally teaching us how to play the game. Like it's actually crazy how much he's helped us so far for macro and just even like small little things.
What do you think? What do you think with Psycho? What's one of the lessons that you've taken to heart the most with him? Just like you said, he's kind of teaching you how to play the game. Essentially, what's something that you may sound like it makes sense or is basic information on the surface, but then when he describes it to you and shows it to you, you're like, oh shit, I didn't even think of it like that. Like, is there any example of something he's taught you that gives you that kind of knowledge moving forward?
I'd say a lot of the macro plays, because like a lot of zones that we thought we couldn't get into, like, he explains to us and he's like, you can literally just get this spot every time, sort of thing. And we're like, what? We just had no idea. Like as soon as we see the zone, we're like, okay, we're playing edge. Just gonna hit 6 crafters and 3 armories. But now we know that we can get these certain spots and zones and get some guaranteed placement out of them.
Okay, so going into a little bit of the off season for you before we started Pro League Split 2, you were kind of trialing with the old, well, now it'd be SCS, old Sentinel squad. I guess plus tech. So I would love to hear kind of, because you were IGLing, I believe, for that squad, and or at least trialing for IGLing. I would love to hear like how did that go, and then what kind of brought you back to the original squad of Vayne and Reeds, and like maybe go into the team dynamic between you three. And I would love to, just hear that.
So first of all, I definitely wasn't trialing as IGL. It's more like co-IGL.
My bad. My bad.
Because I'm gonna be honest, Crust doesn't really talk, so I kind of have to talk a little bit. But yeah, I mean, we were playing a bit. It was going okay, but Crust didn't really want to play for some reason at some point, and at that point, I was like, okay, well, I'm not gonna leave my team, which I know 100% can make LAN. Like, I'd rather just stick with that than make basically a whole new squadron sort of thing, you know? Just doesn't make sense.
Okay,
Something
now
that
go.
I gotta ask in regards to that. Oh, sorry, Finn.
I was gonna ask about the team dynamic between
Go for it.
this new squad that he has right now is what I. Well,
okay. Well, I have something related to the Sin thing.
Okay, go Synthé. Go Synthé right. First.
So, when you were having the potential to switch over and to join that new team, did at the time when you were starting, Crust and Sinox were both signed to Sentinels, did Sentinel's decision of not keeping that team on influence your decision making at all, or was it more so due to the lack of passion that you saw from the team itself?
Can you repeat that one more time?
Okay, so when you began to start trialing with Sinox and Crust, I believe at the time they were still signed to Sentinels, and then it was after Sentinels had dropped them that then you then announced that you were going to be going back to Glytch. And so was that a decision did that have any input into your decision making process, or was it more based on the lack of passion that you perceived from within the team?
So they weren't actually, I don't know, it's kind of like a gray area. I think if I formed a team with them, I think we may have stayed as Sentinels. Mm-hmm. So I could have still like joined Sentinels and stuff, but as I said, like I care about winning more than anything else. So I think once Crest and that didn't want to play, just things kind of fell apart with that as well. So, but it's definitely like the main thing is just winning. And as soon as I had to make a new squadron, it was like, all right, well, I'm not taking my chances. I'd rather just play with my team.
No, that's really dope to hear. Because, yeah, I mean, for those who aren't out there, like Sentinels is like notorious for being like one of the most well-paying organizations out there. And so it's completely understandable as someone who's as young as you are, that would be an incredible opportunity for you to be able to like help solidify your path into this industry. And I think it's awesome that things worked out the way they did, and now that you and the boys are signed to Glytch, and so you have like that stability there, and now you're able to work with the boys that you know are passionate, than the ones that you know you're going to be able to put in the work with to get to where you want. And so I think it's really cool how it played out, at least from my end of being able to watch it.
Yeah, it's great.
So you mentioned winning, and you mentioned that you felt like the team that you have now is that team, like that squad that can make LAN. So can you go into the dynamic between you, Reeds, and Vane, and just like maybe some strengths and weaknesses of the squad, and like stuff that you guys are working on as a team?
So before Split 2, Reeds was IGL, and it's pretty obvious with our playstyle as well. And now in Split 2, Vane is IGLing now, and Reeds is kind of co-IGLing. Reeds is really good at setting the tempo, you know? Like, he's like, we need to kill this, you know? Like, he's got the momentum. Like, he brings the momentum to the team sort of thing. And he's just absolute Giga Chad. Like, things that you just won't even consider. Just the absolute craziest plays. Like, Reeds is just thinking that 24/7, right? So he just thinks of, like, the crazy plays. And Vane is obviously, like, more so with just the general macro and just leading the team in general, just keeping everyone on the same page. And then I definitely am not like just a fragger, just completely silent. Like, I contribute ideas, like things we miss out on, and like, you know, use nades on this, we can clear this. But it's definitely mostly Vane and Reeds that are doing the leadership, and then I just shoot my flatline.
All right, so you say shoot your flatline. There are many out there who would say that like that is just not the AR that you should be using. Like, out of all of the ones that are out there, the flatline, what's behind that decision, and why are you picking that up over the notorious Nemesis, which is just plaguing every ranked game I've played in?
I'll definitely just pick up whatever I find attachments for. I think that's the biggest thing. They're pretty equal, but if I find like 2 blue mags for both and I have a flatline, like, usually rather have that. Just way more consistent because I know the recoil pattern really well, and it's better just hip firing up close, just jumping on someone's head sort of thing. So that's the main reason I prefer it.
So more of like you just have so much time in that it's just
Yeah, and it's
natural
also
at this
just
point.
it's just
I've seen your
well
firing range
rounded.
clips. I've seen them.
So, not to go back to arenas, but you said that you have a lot more experience in arenas, and so I would love to hear maybe your background into gaming and how you got like from that experience of like maybe some other shooters or stuff like that. But yeah, I think the listeners would love to hear more about you early on and how you got into this, and not just the whole Apex thing.
So obviously skipping over the just 5 years old playing like COD or whatever. Apex Legends was like,
Wait, did you
actually
say you were 5 years old playing COD? Hold on.
No, not COD. Actually, when I was like 8 or something, I think the first I don't know what age, like 6 or 8, I played Half-Life with my brother. It's probably like my main introduction to video games. Anyways, after all that, I did play like some Rainbow Six Siege, some Overwatch. Overwatch was my main game. So then when my friend told me about a battle royale with abilities, I was pretty intrigued, even though I hate battle royales. I did give it a try, and I just loved. There's just so much outplay in Apex. It's just crazy. There's no other FPS game like it. So really got into it. Eventually saved up enough money for a PC, and then got pretty good at it. So one day we decided, oh, let's start playing some comp, and here we are.
No, man, that's awesome. That's awesome to see the introduction into getting into ranked and everything, and where you are now, because it's kind of crazy to think about you're not even liking BRs and all of a sudden you're playing the best BR at the highest level. So congrats to you, pat on the back. I wanted to get into the maps a little bit. I'm always intrigued with how different pros view the maps heading into the ALGS. Obviously right now we have Stormpoint and we have World's Edge. World's Edge is the old guard. It's been there forever. Stormpoint's kind of newer, but it seems like a lot of people, a lot of pros especially, tend to side more with Stormpoint for various different reasons. For you, when it comes to map and like, I don't know if I want to say placement, but just which map you would rather play, which one comes to mind for you?
Stormpoint, 100%.
And is it like, what exactly is it about Stormpoint that makes it so much more intriguing than World's Edge?
You just get to play the game. Like, it's so big. There's like teams are so much more spread out. You can do PvE, you can get crafters, you get beacons, and the fights are like less just all ins, just all let's triple side on people. Like early game fights on Stormpoint are about taking important angles and using your abilities to like movement abilities, especially to create new angles. On World's Edge, it's just feels like you're just trying to survive all the time. Just teams everywhere. You're just literally just trying to survive the whole time, it seems like.
Is there another map that's currently in the game right now that you think could replace like a World's Edge in ALGS or competitive Apex? Or do you think like it's the closest we can get until something maybe comes out in the future?
I don't know. Maybe Broken Moon, but I don't know. It'd be cool to see a test on Broken Moon, but right now, the way I view it, it's just Olympus, but with zip rails, which is just awful. It's the biggest map like Stormpoint, so like maybe it could work kind of like Stormpoint does, but yeah, I don't know. We'd have to run some tests on it.
So say you have gun to your head, you have to pick one. You'd probably pick Broken Moon.
Yeah,
that's tough. That's such a hard choice between all the ones we have right now.
It's that or Kings Canyon.
Really? Kings Canyon. You're not the first person to say that. Furious Zera, he also said that, as well as Nasky. It's kind of crazy. Like, do you think that Kings Canyon now, with the additions that they recently put in, would actually make it somewhat decent, or is it just like the closest we could get at this point?
I think it's the closest we can get. It's just the overall design of the map is good. Like the buildings are fun. Like there's not a lot of ultimate high ground. The only problem is just the loot, and it's just so tiny.
All right, so you're known sort of, well, I would say you're low key, kind of like known for your movement, like in having phenomenal mechanics. I mean, shoot, even right before you came on the podcast, you tweeted out a movement tech like thing that was on R5, and I would love for you to talk about maybe your work ethic, because we've seen the clips on the firing range where you're so far away and hitting every single, you're full magging from, I don't know, 500 meters away. So I would love to hear about maybe your regimen when it comes to improving your aim and your movement and just overall mechanical ability.
I just think it's super important, especially as a professional, that you're always trying to get that edge. So just constantly, like, even like tiny things, like stuff that I work on, like super lighting stuff, it's nothing crazy. You're not going to do that so often, but why not? Like, why aren't you constantly trying to get that edge? Why aren't you trying to like master recoil on a gun? Like, you need to always be getting that edge as a competitive player, and I feel like a lot of people don't do that for some reason. So that's why I quote unquote train so much to get that edge over other players.
It's been said a few times, and I think a lot of people have brought this up, but do you feel like with the way Apex is going, a lot of the pros in the scene right now are, I don't know if lazy is like the best word to say, but I guess that's the one I'm describing. Yeah, do you think that they're lazy?
I don't think they're lazy. Definitely there's so many pros. Like there's some that are actually lazy, and then there's some that kind of just don't really care too much, and then there's still like a ton of people that I really highly respect that are the same as me and are always trying to improve as a player, even at the they could be number one in kills, the number one team, and they'd still be trying to improve. Those kind of players, like, I really have a lot of respect for.
So you mentioned about having that competitive edge and really trying to get and like master something so that you would have that over somebody else. And so when I hear somebody say that, my first thought comes to mind is, why doesn't Aidan use the wingman? Because I think you would even agree that the wingman is probably like the most overpowered gun in Apex. Not even close. And so why haven't you ever decided, oh, I'm just going to learn and master the wingman and just walk around and 3-tap everybody?
The wingman isn't definitely not that broken. It's really good in ranked, but how often are you in a 1v1 long range ego trial with someone in comp? Sometimes, but not that often. But anyways, the actual question, I actually have been using the wingman decently recently because it is one of the guns that I'm not very good with. So I have been using it recently, even in comp.
Are we confident enough with it to bring it over or what?
Oh yeah, I've
Yeah?
already used it a few times.
There we go.
How's it treated you?
Pretty good.
Love that. Okay, but you said, so can you break down like what the biggest difference is and why the wingman is better in ranked than in comp? Because I feel like a lot of people, when they think about, like, especially from the casual perspective, they wouldn't understand what that difference really is.
It just doesn't have the highest DPS. Like, everyone at the highest level is hitting like 90% of their shots. So obviously just having a gun that just high DPS is really good. And as I said before, it's just the wingman is best in just straight 1v1. We're both in the open sort of thing. And I just have like, I'm moving at the speed of light while shooting you for 45 every like half second. But yeah, you're just not doing that often in comp. It's more about all-inning with a submachine gun or an EVA 8 more often than not. Wingman's really good for poking, though. It's a good, well-rounded weapon for poking, and then you can even take it into late game if you want.
So you guys just finished your guys' third day of the second split, and it was, like I said earlier, it was probably not your guys' best day. Was there anything that changed from the first two that you were like, okay, we need to readjust and get back to what we were doing on the first 2 days? Like, what was the difference between those first 2 days and the third? Was it just bad RNG, or was there some things technically that you guys need to fix moving into to day 4?
So, first of all, definitely some bad rings, but that's not really an excuse. First game was really rough because
I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes some of those zones, you're literally just you're kind of SOL because of like how the meta is right now. But I'll let you say that. Okay, that's not an excuse because there are some things, but some things are just like, okay, well, we were just dealt a bad hand.
yeah. So the first game, like we did this planned rotation that we've been doing forever to thermal station, but one of the teams like switched up the way they play the zone, and it really threw us off, and we just got fat 0-pointer right off rip on a Velcult, and we got Sheila'd out of the air and charge rifle. So that was already just kind of not fun. Little confidence, little lost. I forget what happened in the second game. I don't remember if second game we had a really good World's Edge game or was the third. But anyways, we did have one really good World's Edge game. We got some good points from that. But then on Stormpoint, so I wasn't aware that we were switching our team composition on Stormpoint until like the day of, I'm not gonna lie. And I talked about it. I was like, guys, this is dumb. We just got a second and a seventh with mistakes, and we're dropping Valk, which is like we needed for majority of our macro for Bangalore. And like the thought process made sense the way they explained it, but I kept saying, I was like, we have no practice. And at that point, I just think because we were just on a character that we're not used to, confidence just wasn't as good. It wasn't there, and just had some bad games and some rough zones. Combine that and didn't do very well.
I was mainly going to talk about how you guys approach fighting. I know you mentioned beforehand how split one, whenever Reeds was kind of hard IGLing, you guys fought a lot. And, you know, this team, you guys have a lot of experience in the fight, like fighting. It goes all the way back to the arenas, right? You guys are confident in your fighting. I mean, you guys shoot, like you guys ran out the old G2 squad out of Barometer. I remember them getting like 6-0'd, and I was like, oh my gosh. Like no one's wanting to fight BR Demons off rip, right? Like you guys are terrifying in that regard. I would love to hear y'all's like maybe micro or just like approach, maybe strategy wise, going into a fight. Besides the you know the normal, okay, we get a crack and now we're pushing, right? Like I would love for maybe our listeners to hear maybe just a little bit of like some details, maybe if you guys have any. If you don't, then that's fine.
So fights or contests or both?
I would actually love to hear both because you guys are phenomenal at both of those things.
So in terms of contests, I would say not going to say anything like too crazy on a podcast, but it's like I'm really good at jumping. I know like every single drop mechanic. So we're able to just on a contest, the main objective is you just want as much control as possible. So having like the jump master diff is immediately just such a big benefit. And we just plan around like taking the most space, the most loot, and then going from there. In terms of actual fighting, I feel like at least back in the day, we play a tiny bit more slow now, but back in Split 1, it was just pure like momentum and just like people would just get ran through sometimes because they just don't expect the just sheer aggression that we were bringing because our chemistry is so good. It's like we would just be on each other ready to make plays at any given moment, but other teams kind of have to say, okay, like 1 2 3, we're gonna swing this, but we were just like already thinking the same thing, and it's just like, okay, let's swing this like now. Like we're just always on the same page when it comes to fighting.
Okay, so I kind of wanted to. I know you guys haven't been playing, in the ALGS forever, but there's been plenty of comps throughout Apex Legends, and especially in ranked and comp, whatever it may be. One of our favorite questions to ask is, what is your favorite comp, or if there was a comp that you could go back to, which one would you like to go back to?
That's a good question. So I can't really give a really good answer for this because I started competing like rather late. But I'm guessing that the Wraith Path Watson meta was so fun just because it was so much more just it was more about what you did with the ability, not the ability itself. Does that make sense? So like nowadays we have characters like Seer, Horizon, just black hole nade win, or just hit a cancel on 3 people win. But it was more like, all right, I'm gonna grapple to this angle and I'm gonna use my gun and kill somebody, or I'm gonna take this space as Wraith, this really good angle, and I'm gonna kill somebody and I'm gonna come back with my ability. It was more how you use the ability. Another meta, but as I said, I never played that meta, so that's just a guess. In terms of metas that I played, probably just Seer Horizon. Honestly, it was fun, to be honest. Just craziness, just fighting everything. Oh wait, I forgot the comp right now. This is probably my favorite instead of Seer Horizon. Definitely.
And what makes it like so much better?
Because I get to play Catalyst.
There you go.
You say that and it's hilarious because there's a lot of people that are absolutely hating on this meta right now. They think it's absolute dog meat. And so you saying that this is one of your favorite metas, I think is so comical because you are quite literally the opposite of like 70% of the people, if not more, of who are like, I hate this meta. You're just catwalling and now you can't do anything. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a little cheesy, definitely.
But I kind of want to go deeper into the Catalyst thing because we had Hal on a few weeks ago, and he was saying he gets bored with it because he feels like he's sitting on a door throwing down the cat thing, and then they walk outside, they throw up a wall, the cat wall. Like for you, what makes Catalyst interesting and what makes it fun to be able to use that legend and utilize her abilities?
It's just the ability to be creative. I feel like a lot of legends that were meta don't really have any creativity. Seers just scan, ult, see everything. But at least with Catalyst, at least besides the Seer combo, like yeah, sometimes it's just, oh, let's throw a wall up, throw our Seer ult, and we win. But especially without Seer, you get to choose like where you place your wall, what you want to cut off. You can do so many things with it. You can gatekeep, you can rotate, or you can isolate fights. Just do so much with the wall, and that's only the wall. You do a bunch of crazy stuff with the doors and the spikes. You can place them however you want. It's just so much creativity, and I just love playing characters like that.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like from the Wraith, Pathfinder, Watson pick, and then that one, seems like you kind of prioritize more of the creativity and the ability to use legends in a way that it's more about abilities and being able to put yourself in the right spot rather than just clicking a button and getting free stuff. That's what it seems like from your answers. And so going off of that, if you could make, I'm gonna let you pick a full comp, 3 legends. If you could make 3 legends good again, they're absolutely meta. You don't have to tell me why they're meta, but they're meta now, and everybody's running it. Who are the 3 legends that you would pick? Not like from a competitive standpoint, just to have that creativity, to have that fun aspect back.
Oh, that is such a good question.
Aidan's looking up all the legends right now.
Yeah, give me a second. Give me a second.
Take your time. Take your time.
All right, let's see here. Ooh, okay. All right, so first of all,
there's a lot more now than there used to be. I'll tell you that.
So first, Ashe. Definitely. Lots of crazy stuff you can do with the portal, and all of her abilities are extremely fair. Like, there is just so much that you can do against her abilities. Like, there's just so much outplay on both sides. Second would probably be... So I would say Bangalore, but Digi is a thing. If Digi wasn't a thing, I would say Bangalore, but instead I'd probably go with... Does Catalyst count? I mean, she's kind of good right now, but...
Yeah,
Catalyst.
that counts.
All right, so Catalyst, Ashe, and... I think just Pathfinder. Pathfinder would be lit.
It's really hard to go wrong with Pathfinder. Like, it really is. Also, I think Wraith and Pathfinder are kind of in that same boat where it's like you have to use the ultimate the right way to get the utility out of it, and that's how the game used to be. And it's kind of like you said, it's altered a little bit now. But no, I think that would be a really fun comp, and there'd be a lot of creativity with all 3 of those legends. And I'm a hardcore Ashe guy, so I loved hearing that. It's a great answer.
Big Ashe guy.
Like Aidan, you need to be careful if you play with Wyatt. Like, make sure you have at least 3 ulti excels.
I need 4. I need 4 because I need to ult out. I need to pop all those with Ashe. Ult out, ult in. You know, yeah.
Ashe ulting for loot.
Yeah, for loot as well. Sometimes.
Critical.
For me. You guys got anything else? Because I got like 2 more.
Yeah, I've got a solid one. So can you give us a breakdown of really your journey in gaming, and from like where you started out and to how you got to where you're at now? Because I'm sure that there's a ton of young people out there who see what's happening with esports and are like, hey, like, I want that to be me one day. And so can you just give us some insight into your path that led you here?
So funny thing is, like, that was me when I was a little younger, right? I always saw esports and streamers, and I was like, oh my god, that'd be so cool to just do. And yeah, as I said before, Apex was just the first game that I was like actually good at, like really good at. And I saw that as my chance sort of thing. So I just grinded super hard, and now I'm a pro player. So living the dream.
What was your first game that you started off playing?
Like FPS?
Mm-hmm. Or like just at what point did you like start playing video games, and at what point did you get into the FPSs, and then at what point did you realize that FPS out of all of the video games that are out there, did you realize that like this was your style? Because I know for me, like FPSs have always been like my thing, and I've been able to enjoy other games, but I've like never had more fun, and no game has kept me as interested as FPSs have.
I think I would have to thank my brother for that. As I mentioned before, he introduced me to Half-Life at a very young age, and also Call of Duty and a few other obscure FPSs. So I'd say he's the main reason that I got into FPSs.
Okay, so I was saving this till the end because I got at least 1, 2, 3. We'll see how you answer these, depending on how many I'm going to go. But my guy, someone who leaks, is a part of the team. He's part of Team Glytch Energy, and he's not really a coach. He's more of an analyst. Can you kind of go through what SWL has been helping you guys with, and what his role is with Glytch Energy so far?
So he mainly helps the coach out and like gives him data to support his decisions or vice versa sort of thing. But he also works with me, especially shows me all these. He spends time in custom games finding all these little catalyst goo spots with the spikes, some little cheesy spots and setups, and it's been really helpful.
Yeah, he so I had him on my first show, and I was actually one day I interviewed him, and he was like, "You want to play after?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." I played with him. He's actually surprisingly good. So that doesn't catch me off guard that he's shown you some spots. Has there been anything he's taught you just mechanically or technically that maybe you didn't even know about, coming from a guy who for a while was just data mining and showing skins that were going to come out later in the game?
I'd say the main thing is he actually
Is he
taught
like
us.
has he showed you anything technically or mechanically that you didn't like a specific example or anything like that?
Yeah, so he kind of like taught me how the spikes kind of interact with certain things, if that makes sense. Can't really spoil it, but like I said, it goes with like the setups and stuff. Like it interacts with certain places, like really weird, and you can do some interesting things with that. And also some obscure walls that you can do with Catalyst. So he's taught me some good Catalyst tech that you can do. That's the main example.
Perfect. Well, I had to get my SWL questions in there. He's an awesome dude, and I'm glad he's helping you guys out, and I'm glad to see he's doing well with you guys.
All right, Aidan. So we're going to be doing the double tap, new segment. Well, at this point, is it even a new segment? No, it's just going to be a reoccurring segment. And so what I'm going to do is just going to say one statement, and then you have to, well, I'm going to say a statement, and then you're going to give one-word answers depending on how you feel about that statement, right? So, like, if, for example, charge rifle, you would say hacker or, something like that, right?
Is there a time limit?
Well, I'm going to do it as quickly as possible.
All right, I'll try my best.
So, yeah, just one word answers, whatever comes to your head, like boom, pop, go. All right, so number 1, Valkyrie.
Great.
Number 2, Olympus.
Awful.
Number 3, ALGS LAN.
Win.
Number 4, Stay Naughty.
Grinder.
Number 5, in-game leaders.
Vayne.
Nice. That'll work.
There we go. Perfect.
And my question is the question that I ask everybody who comes on our show, because we have it's like one of my favorite things is that we get the opportunity to talk to people who are performing in the top 1% of their chosen field. And so what would your piece of advice be that somebody would be able to take and to apply to basically any field that they were trying to pursue? So like just like one piece that's helped you get to where you're at that would be able to help somebody else.
One statement that I live by when it comes to that sort of thing is it's practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. So it's about optimizing your time, learning from people who are better than you, it's not about just putting in the hours, it's about using those hours efficiently.
Perfect. Awesome. That's great stuff. Well, Aidan, thanks for hopping on the show. We've been watching you closely, and we're really impressed with how you guys have been playing so far. And hopefully, next time we talk to you, you'll have that trophy in your trophy case over there. So, once again, Aidan, thanks for hopping on the show. We appreciate it, man.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
All right, that was Aidan the Destroyer from Team Glytch Energy. Thanks to Aidan for taking out some time and hopping on the show with the boys. We've been watching him crush it so far, feeling good. Team Glytch Energy on the rise. We have some huge news from a podcast perspective because our very own Enoch is, you know what? I don't want to break the news. I want him to break the news. Enoch, describe what's been going down with you recently because it is badass.
All right, so as everybody on this podcast should know by now, I am quite the fan of BBB, which is a team that has been doing very, very well. A new team. It is designful, chaotic much, being led by their IGL, Zach Mazer. And it is a team that I've really enjoyed watching. And I now am excited to be able to announce on here that I am in fact trialing to be their coach. And so I'm super stoked. I'm super excited. It's definitely something that has been like a little side project that I've been working on in terms of getting to the point where I'm actually able to like announce this and be able to do this. And we on what a day is it? Tuesday, first trial of me coaching. We came in first, 62 points. Second place was 59 CLG, and then third place was TSM with 49 points. And so like they played absolutely phenomenal. I would 100% say that I didn't have anything to do with it, and they like absolutely just popped off and have a day. But I'm super excited to have like the opportunity to get to work with this team, and hopefully it'll lead to like, I'm like very, very confident that it'll lead to me coaching full time. We'll just see how things play out. But I'm super excited because like I'm able to get into competitive Apex in a way that I haven't been able to before, and definitely still won't be doing anything Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. But I feel like the impact of a coach not being there for one day versus a player not being there for one day is very, very different, and hopefully something that they're going to be willing to work with me on. But that might end up being something that later down the road ends up being why it potentially might not work out. But I'm very confident. I'm super excited. It's so much fun. And I like had my 3 monitors and all 3 of the streams up, and then I had a multi-stream on one as well. And so I could really just soak it all in. And the amount of like positive feedback from all of their chats was really cool to see, especially like it being my first day really doing it. Cause like I knew that I have like absolutely everything that it takes in order to be like the best or one of the best Apex coaches in the world. And just my first day seeing all the positive like feedback is just a nice little thing to have. Because like I'm always like a big fan of like not letting your emotions be controlled by external circumstances. But like when you're stepping into a job on the first day and you get a bunch of feedback that you're doing a good job, like it feels good. And so I'm excited to get to work. I've got a lot of things planned, and yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm super, super stoked. You guys have any questions?
Yeah, so I wanted to see what exactly did you do on the first day? I know you said you didn't contribute like too much right now because it's still pretty early, but what exactly did you kind of walk them through? What were some of the things that you gave maybe some pointers on, if you can even say that, but just like something that you did just from your first day?
It's really I would say the biggest thing is being able to have the perspective of somebody being able to like watch all 3 players and then really be able to like dissect where things are going wrong and where things can be tightened up, like what went wrong here, what went wrong there. So breaking down like what could have been done differently to have a different outcome. And a couple times, even on the games that we won, I still had coaching notes of things that we could have done better and things that we could have improved on, or to like different plays. So like one thing I can mention is that there was a play where they were pushing train and design was portaling because the team didn't have any scan character, they had no idea. Design had made a port around their backside, so they were kind of like pinched. And Zach had called for Chaotic to place a wall in order for him to be able to like, so they could that way they could push up from their side. And Chaotic hit a cell instead because he was like, I'm going to hit the cell first and then I'm going to do it. And so just something small like that is something where I'm able to be like, oh, hey, like in the future, like we need to be making sure that like when Zach calls for a wall and you have 175 HP, you need to get that wall down, because if you don't have that wall down when he's calling for it, that delays them being able to press up. And so just like stuff like that. And then a couple times there's a lot of the times you can use a catalyst queue in order to have like an indicator. And so like if you can like block a path, and then so that way a team has to shoot it out. And so if you're able to like put those in certain spots, it'll give you indicators that teams are rotating behind you. And so there's a couple times where that could have been a thing. But for the most part, like Zach has like such a strong handle on what he wants to do with his team in terms of like a macro and even in the micro. It's just, I'm just there to make sure that the vibes are right, pick up on things that could be doing better, and make sure that everybody's in the right headspace and the right mental like place to show up and just do their best. And that's definitely a job that I'm going to be able to do very well. I really do think that I'm like the perfect fit for what this team needs and like the red flags that they have. Because I mean, we've talked about it before. This team does have red flags. Like 100%, that's true. And I definitely think that I'm the person to make sure that those red flags don't end up popping up.
Now, as far as like zones and stuff, that's probably, I wouldn't say that's not like your expertise, but that's probably not where you want to help out the most, or like where you're going to get the most out of them. But have you thought about adding that to the arsenal and being like, maybe I should spend some time? Or do you think maybe contacting somebody who has like a lot of knowledge with like zone placement and different stuff like that? I mean, you kind of do have like a good arsenal of it because you play so much ranked. But at the same time, it's like a lot of teams are running full-on analysts now. Or are you more just focused on keeping the vibes right and then doing like the small micro things like you were pointing out earlier?
I've definitely. What were you going to say, Finn?
No, I was gonna say something before you talked real quick. I think, I mean, Zach's obviously been around the game for a long time, and he's playing the game quite a bit. So I feel like, well, one, there are brand new zones that are happening right now. Like there's just a lot of zones that are kind of being very weird. And since Zach's been around for a long time, I feel like he's been pretty good at being pretty accurate on the zone. So I don't know if zones, that I can't speak for that, but I was going to I feel like Zach is very intelligent in that respect, and when it comes to behind the scenes stuff. So I too am interested to hear, like, with the whole, are y'all planning on maybe getting an analyst? Or
So I'm definitely going to be reaching out and finding an analyst to work with on like just like a personal level, just so I don't know if we'll ever bring on a full on analyst into like the team like some teams have, but I definitely plan on finding one, learning from them, getting to work with them, and hopefully having them teach me some of the things that I could learn so that I could be better at my job, because that's definitely an area that I haven't done a ton of looking into. But then I plan on reaching out, talking to as many coaches as I can, just getting as much advice from people who have been doing it longer than me. But yeah, zones is definitely something. It's not as big of a deal for the play style that we have, because we're definitely a zone team. And I mean, we're definitely like an edge team. Misspoke.
yeah, dude, I was about to be like, oh my gosh, no way, Design's playing zone. Me and Wyatt's dream, bro.
We're the worst zone team ever, because
for real.
I don't think we made it to zone any of our SP games. But we definitely are going to be picking up kills. So that's definitely, there's actually a really fun game. Serial sent it to me, and I was watching.
Oh yeah,
Mercs. There's actually, like, straight up, if you are somebody who wants to be like a big nerd and get inside the mind, like take it to the next level, predict -the-ring on render ONRENDR.com is like a fun game that you can go through, and it literally shows you different, like the first zone, second zone, and then it like is like a quiz on you being able to predict it, and then it'll tell you how many you get. That's
Yeah,
definitely a game that I'll probably be cranking a little bit more during the in between queues, just as a way that I can just like practice it more and more. But my zone knowledge, realistically speaking, it can only like it only has so much of an impact because coaches, you're not allowed to talk while the players are playing, and so even if I know a zone where they don't, like, which I doubt would happen because I'm sure if I know it, I'm I'm sure Zach knows it or Design knows it, and but even if I did know, I wouldn't be able to say anything about it anyway. And so the biggest things that like I'll be contributing to are having that person who has that. You know how like how when he was talking about like the impact Raven's been able to have and how he went from like something would go wrong and he would try to like figure out what it was, and now he has Raven to tell him what it was. It's more of like that's like a large part of it, at least during game day. I have like a ton of stuff that I'm going to be incorporating as a whole outside of that,
oranges and high seas,
which I won't get into. They definitely, I'm gonna get all the boys on cold showers. I don't know if they're like they better get on board with me like that, because that is something that I do plan on incorporating into my team. Is that we're definitely all the boys are going to be on cold showers in the morning, but we'll see how that goes. That's definitely a plan that I have, along with some other stuff, but I'll keep those a little bit closer to the chest for now. But yeah, dude, I'm excited. I'm so excited.
Oh, dude, this is awesome.
The thing was, because like when I messaged Zach and I was like, hey, I'd like at least like 2 to 3 months to trial, and he was like, oh, he took that and he sent it to the boys, and then he talked to me realistically. He was like, yeah, we got like 7 different people we're looking at. A lot of people want to be our coach. You'll probably have a week. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's fair. And then that's what I was thinking. I hadn't replied back. And then Chaotic has said, I'll give it a month. I'm down for that. And then Design said, yeah, I'm down. I don't care. And now I got a whole month to be able to work with them, get them to a place where they're going to be able to be successful no matter what happens. And dude, I'm excited. I'm so excited.
No, man, this is a huge opportunity for you and really awesome to get insight as one of the hosts on the pod as well, just to have like that that knowledge here as well. So it's really cool. It's really awesome to see, and really happy to see that you guys did good on your first day. I am wondering though, I would like to actually see how it goes on a bad day, and I want to see how you guys bounce back. I want to see like something like that happen in the near future, just to see how we can, or how you navigate that. And
scrims.
I think,
100% in scrims, only in scrims.
yeah, only in scrims. Just to see how you can kind of navigate it, and that's really what'll show, I think, the true testament of like your ability, and I think you can definitely crush that. So I'm very excited to see that. It's gonna be really cool. Anything else, boys, before we go into the heart to heart? All good? All right, let's send it on down to the heart to heart. All right, ladies and gents, it is heart to heart time. Heart to heart time. Finn, how you feeling, my man?
Well, I was talking to Wyatt before we got on here, and Enoch doesn't know, and Wyatt just found out. But me and my girlfriend broke up this weekend, and I know that's like won't go into the details of everything, but I guess my real heart to heart is just like it's tough because it felt like it I know it's the right decision, but it doesn't make it any less hard for to like in the moment whenever that happens. And so yeah, that's I guess my heart to heart is just that that's sometimes the right decision, and sometimes I would say I don't know the percentage wise, but I would say there is a good percentage of times where the hard decision is the right decision. And so that would be my heart to heart, is just to make that hard decision even whenever it's uncomfortable to do so.
Yeah. No, yeah, 100%. We're sorry to hear about that. It's very tough, always a tough situation going through a breakup, but there is light at the end of the tunnel. There, like they say, there's a million fish in the sea, so you'll be bouncing back soon. I know you got that. So, once
Did you
again,
learn from it?
yeah, that's probably the biggest thing is did you learn anything?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we both walked. Well, I can't speak for her, but I think overall it was a positive experience for me, and I've learned a lot, and I can take that forward, like going forward into my next relationship. So,
Dude, I
yeah.
mean, as soon as you know that like she's not the one that you're gonna spend the rest of your life with, like as much fun
Yeah.
as it has been leading up to that, you just got to know like you got to make the decision and you take as much as you can, and then now you're like that much closer to finding that person the next time.
Yep.
And so I'm super happy for you. It sounds like you have like a really good like head on your shoulders about it.
Oh, it's
Your
from
mind's not going in the wrong places that a lot of people tend to let them go to. And so I'm happy for you, man. Like obviously like like going through a breakup is always hard and there's always a certain level of suckiness to it, but you're handling it well. And
I yeah. I
yeah.
I I would say it's a little bit easier on my side since I was the one that broke up with her. And like
Mhm.
I was the one that had the feeling of okay, this isn't my like I don't think this is my wife.
Mhm.
And so I mean, for me, my views and how I perceive things, obviously dating is a big deal for me. Like if I'm dating to on a purpose to get married, and so if whenever I found that out, just had to end it, even though it was unfortunate. But once again, grow from it, and we maybe take some time, but we then regain later on. So
Yeah.
yeah,
No, huge respect for you.
Yeah. No, it's a big decision, and you said it's easier from your end. I don't think so. I think when you have them that in the back of your mind, we're like, oh no, this is not. I don't think this is it. It's probably harder. It's like because you know you have to somebody you actually care about. You have to go through and put them through something they you didn't want to. So I wouldn't say it's any less uh easy or hard or whatever. I think it's just it's a different situation, but you're handling it, it looks like, and we hope the best for you moving forward. Always tough, though. Always tough a breakup.
So ladies,
E.
that boy Finn on the market.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Man's looking for
sir.
a wife.
He needs a wife out there. He needs one. Okay. E. Your heart to heart.
Oh, dude. Mine would really just be like if you set your mind on like something that you want to do, you just gotta like commit to it and then just start putting in like the steps and the work to like make it happen. Cause like I've had like a vision of like what I'm gonna be about to be doing soon in the next little bit about this being like a next potential step in my career. And so I had it and I was like, okay, I recognized it and then I started implementing the things that I needed to do in order to like position myself to make that a reality. And now an idea that I had in my head a few months ago is coming to fruition in so many beautiful ways. And it's just because like I never doubted myself for a second. I didn't allow those negative intrusive thoughts that can often pop up have any power, and when they happen I was just like, all right, I'm not dealing with that shit. And I was irrationally optimistic, which is a term that one of my friends Jake uses, which I'm a huge fan of. And I just had a good mindset about it, started taking the steps, and then I eventually am ending up where I'm ending up now. And I'm super excited. And just for anybody out there, like if you have something that you want to do, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right. And so there's like a lot of people out there that if I had like told like, oh yeah, I want to be an Apex coach, there's a lot of people that would have been like, oh, Enoch can't be an Apex coach. Like he's not qualified. Like there's not like he's not going to do well. Like that's not going to work out. But like I just don't give a shit about it, what any of those people may or may not say. And I'm just so confident in myself and in my abilities. I block out all the noise and then I just put in the work to get there. And if you do that, like for me, it was becoming a coach. For you, it could be literally whatever you want. And if you are confident in yourself, irrationally optimistic about it, block out all the bad noise, and then you just get to work, there are very, very, very few things in this world that you won't be able to accomplish if you approach it from that mindset and from that place, and then just put in the work. And so, if there's anybody out there who wants to do anything, like just apply those, be patient, and you'll get there.
It's great words to live by, and I've had to hear those from you a few times throughout this history of the Heart to Heart segment.
And
so,
you'll keep hearing them, because if I hear that shit, I'm gonna call you out for it.
Yeah, that's a great heart to heart, great perspective, great mindset to move forward. I love that quote you said too. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right, and I think that's powerful. I think a lot of people need to hear that, and it could be anything. It could be with their dreams, their goals moving forward. It could be with relationships. It could be with potential relationships. It could be with happiness and dealing with the things that come your way. It could be with anything. Perspective and mindset going into said situation can drastically change the outcome and even the perception of the outcome. So whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. My heart to heart this week, it's been a pretty heavy week. I got some really good news that I still can't break last week on last week's episode. Still can't break it yet. Followed up by, I don't even know what to really classify it as. It's definitely not good. And it's something that I've known has been coming for a long time. And it's something that I have to handle on the family end of things. And I don't know exactly how I'm going to traverse it, but this week has been very weird because I want to be really happy, but then I have this dark cloud coming my way, and it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. So keep me in your thoughts, keep me in your prayers the next coming weeks, because I have a lot to deal with as far as, just regular life stuff. And it's hard because when you're dealing with family matters, there's I feel like I've gone through a gauntlet of family matters growing up, with like my parents splitting at a young age, having a lot of drama in like the family court services, having to deal with a lot of that, and now getting older and being on the other side of it. I was on the kid side when I was young. Now I'm on the adult side of it as I'm getting older. It's definitely difficult, and there's a lot of tough conversations that are going to have to be had, and there's a lot of thought that's going to have to go into keeping my family safe and keeping them okay. So just keep me in your thoughts and prayers, and moving forward, I'm going to have, there was a moment where I was just laying on this bed behind me right here, just staring at the ceiling, trying to figure out exactly what I was going to do. And I'm usually a really big open book with stuff like this, and I normally wouldn't have a problem saying exactly what it is to you guys, but this one goes a little bit deeper, and I don't know if I can really voice all of that. So I'll be keeping that to myself for now, but just know that I'm dealing with something.
That's
and
okay.
I'm just trying to get through it. So
it is your business. Like at the end of the day, it's your business, and so
Yeah.
whatever you try to choose, and that's okay. And
There's nothing wrong with having your personal life stay personal.
yeah,
we share a lot on the show, but there are
we
definitely
do.
things that
we do.
that you are very much allowed to not tell the entire internet.
No, it's definitely it's one of those things. I do like to voice it normally because it is one of those things where I feel like, with me being open about a situation, or like even with Banner, like the boys talking about their relationship situations, a lot of times you don't realize how many people are going through the exact same thing, and how just watching you struggle sometimes can really help them and be like, oh, okay, I'm not alone in this. And normally I would be so down to talk about that type of thing, because dealing with family court, there's so many people go through like divorce stuff, and I'm not getting divorced or anything. It's not that. But it's dealing with aftermath of stuff like that. I feel like would be such a huge opportunity, but this goes a little bit deeper. And I'll tell you guys after. But yeah, it's just tough. I don't know how I'm going to go through it, but I'm going to go through it, and that's all I know. So I'm going to keep strong, try to do the best that I can. for everyone involved. So just keep me in your thoughts, keep me in prayers. Appreciate you guys as always. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Apex the podcast. It was another banger, and we cannot wait. Unfortunately, we're not going to get back-to-back days for the rest of the season, which really sucks. I was really going into a weekend and being like, I don't know what I'm going to do this Saturday. Oh wait, I have 3 to 4 full hours of ALGS to watch on Saturday and Sunday. Is going to be awesome. Now we only get it on one day every week, but it's still going to be cool. So we're going to be going through all the rest of the playoffs going into the season. Cannot wait to get through all of that. Ladies and gents, don't forget to click the link down below. Click on all the social medias, and you can follow along with us at all times. And don't forget to check it out on the YouTube as well if you want to see our beautiful faces on the screen while we talk to our guests and all that. So, ladies and gents, we'll catch you guys next week for another episode of the Apex the podcast. See you.